that back in. Not today. We're going to see a lot of aggression here. Meloetta featured once more, and no path to the peak. Some Pokemon catchers. Who's ready for fireworks?
I love this. This is classic Mew. Just going in and seeing if you can just high roll your way up to the top. This deck has nothing but power to it as long as the cards are coming your way.
Yeah, this is so fun. We're back to the old school Mew, and we'll see if this does keep up. Obviously, so many Mew players thinking that the correct way to combat the Lugia builds is to just try to lock out those abilities, but there's nothing wrong with knocking out a Lugia on the first turn going second.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously something that's been going well for Tyler, is playing this more aggressive Mew list as opposed to something that has a couple more of those passive answers. So love to see it and love to see how it's going to fare up against this Lugia that's also known as something that just goes out fast and can do the things. Meloetta and Lisa Sparkle in the prizes on Tyler's end to start, though.
Yeah, and we see on the other side, Tord's not going to have access to the Snorlax or the Radiant Charizard, which are some Pokemon that can be nice to get some chip damage in, or try to clean up a big Mew VMAX that you weren't able to completely knock out early on. So could be an interesting start here to the opening game.
Especially, too, in this matchup, Tyler does have the V-Guard energy, so a way, too, to maybe make the damage a little more in his favor, to where looking at these 2-hit KOs is a little more possible.
Oh, looks like we are going to get things underway here. So excited to see which one of these players could potentially get themselves to be our first 6-0 of the tournament.
And to start things off, looks like Bird's going to be going first. Nice way to get set up, and a quick ball, and right away being able to pitch that Archeops into the discard is a good way to start it off.
Yep, doesn't get much better than that. Get to have that Primal Turbo potentially ready as early as next turn. And we'll see if Tord has a bit of a read here as to what style of Mew Tyler's on. Because if it's just the path list, then maybe you only go for the one Lugia. You focus on getting the Oranguru and a general setup. But if you think you could lose this Lugia to a Meloetta, you better have 2 of them down.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations where Lugia, you're okay to just go for the one on the first turn, even in something like the Mirror, but going up against a Mew list that does have this engine and this Meloetta, this Sparkle, this way to be able to take these huge KOs to start things off, definitely has to make you think a little bit, but it will be the Oranguru, the Pokemon of choice, off the quick ball.
Tord, of course, going to get as much knowledge as possible, understanding that a lot of his single prize attackers are not going to be available just yet. And that can be a little bit of a frustration. Of course, there are ways around that. Lugia can just go very aggressive with powerful energies and Choice Belt to try to take knockouts. And there's also ways to chip these Pokemon down by way of Lumineon. So not completely lost yet with only the Oranguru and a Lugia.
Really ways to get them later, so it could be a lot worse. I mean, it could be all your Archeops or something prized instead. So got to make do with what you can. Primate Wisdom, start things off. Make sure that you have a chance to see another card and put something favorable for yourself on top of your deck. That will be another Lugia V, though, coming down onto the bench.
Yeah, Tord may have maybe they sat next to each other at some point. You know, these when you're an X and O for as long as both these players have been, you might get some information there. And gonna go with that second Lugia. And Tyler now has to thin this hand down a little bit to start drawing cards. Love to see that Battle VIP pass in the opening hand, and it's not there. It's gonna be Cramomatic trying to help out. Big heads potentially, not here.
Not today. I mean, the Cramomatic's such a strong card if luck is on your side, and this deck definitely has a couple of features that embody this luck. It's going to be those Forest Stones going to be put onto the Genesect, start things off right away. Going to be using that. There's such a great addition into these Mew lists, this Forest Seal Stone, being able to have a V-Star power and go and grab a card from your deck.
Yeah, the Battle VIP pass sounds like a great card to grab here early on. Bit of a rough start there for Tyler, holding on to a Marnie and a Serena, and both of those don't feel like great options just yet. So maybe he wants to add some Pokemon to the board and try to draw out of this. The problem is you're only going to be able to get 4 of these fusion Pokemon down, and you've got 3 cards in hand.
Yeah, that's one of the things that can be tricky. This is such a strong engine, but you can find yourself in those little bit of weird positions where you're not quite having the Pokemon down yet, where your hand's just a little too big to where you could be not drawing the many cards as you would like to see in a turn. Off of the Battle VIP pass, another Genesect is an easy grab and opting for that Meloetta as the other Pokemon.
Yeah, you can see a world where if that Cremomatic hit heads, there's 6 Pokemon here, and you're drawing with 2 or 3 Genesects this turn. You can draw into a card like Alyssa Sparkle and potentially get a knockout as early on as the opening turn here. Instead, there's one card that can be drawn here, unless you want to play down a V-Guard energy or use one of these supporters, and it's not a favorable spot if you're trying to do Alyssa things.
Or you could just hope for the best card off of this Fusion Strike system as possible, going for the one. Going to be quite it though, but it's different energy to possibly attach to try again. Being able to go and put that on the Meloetta is definitely not the worst case whatsoever, and you can have another crack at it right here.
Finds a Pokemon catcher. That's not exactly helpful in this spot.
Nope, and that is going to be a tough spot to be in. These decks have such amazing draw power, but if you don't quite have the Pokemon out, well, then you're not going to be able to do much whatsoever. That Lugia in the active on tour spot, so tempting if you could just try and get the pieces together, but here we're going to see that Pokemon catcher. Another Tails. This is luck not on Tyler's side. What's happening to your Kentucky boy here?
Yeah, we talked about this. Maybe he used all of it to get to 5-0, but now it's gonna try to find some more cards. We used to have an inside joke playtesting with the early list of Mew Genesect that if you don't have 10 cards in the discard pile on your first turn, you already lost. So hopefully Tyler plays a few more cards down and gets to that fake number that we came up with in all of our time playing.
See, when I picked up the deck, I was just told just throw away cards as much as possible, and you're probably doing a pretty okay thing. So definitely the more cards you're able to see is definitely really, really nice, and not quite having that capability. It feels bad when you just got a Marnie on that first turn. You're only getting 5 cards, and you're not going to be able to go for that engine that you opt for when you play something like this Meloetta.
Yeah, I mean, even at this stage, you go for a Genesect. You have a decently low hand. You can draw that back up, but if you don't find a way to attack, which is impossible at this stage, you already used a supporter, you're going to just retreat to a Genesect potentially, and that feels awful. You're sacrificing prize cards to toward Reklev, and nobody wants to do that on the big stage.
Yeah, already difficult enough when you're going up against Tord without just giving over a couple of free prizes. So really a tricky situation there. You don't want to be losing something like the Mew V on the first turn either, so definitely would be nice to get that out of the active spot if that's the way this has to go down.
Yep, nice spot there from Tyler. He has the Battle VIP pass, also has a quick ball. Some players would just go ahead and use that quick ball, get the cards out of the hand, but it's important to have ways to discard and thin the hand down for following turns, especially when you're drawing as awkwardly as he is on this opening turn here. So gonna hold on to that and maybe see one extra card next turn. That could be crucial.
Yeah, and plus first turn is the only time that you can be going for something like this Battle VIP pass, so make use of it while you can. Get yourself set up. Love the choice of a Mew V here, that if anything happens to the one that he has out in play, that you're not in the worst situation out there.
Yeah, this leads to an opportunity where you might just feel comfortable leaving the Mew V active. It's still got free retreat. You have an additional one if you want to establish the Mew VMAX on the following turn, and then of course you've got the Meloetta with the Fusion Strike energy. You just need that Alyssa Sparkle and the last Fusion to get up to 280 and start doing a lot of work.
That's not going to be for this turn though, as with a bench full of Pokemon, now one energy attach, it will be a pass over, so Torrid can start continuing on the setup. Second Lugia, I mean, at that point, unnecessary considering the engine couldn't get up and going on Tyler's end.
Yeah.
But still, you have the one Archeops in the discard. Looks like there's other in hand if you're just able to find a way to throw it away.
Well, I love this from Tord. Has the powerful energy. and does not want to lose that resource, doesn't want to play that down as the energy for the turn just yet either. So going to place that back on top of the deck with the Oranguru, then shuffle the deck with that Evolution Incense. Lines up perfectly for a potential Lugia here, or even could go for the Archeops and discard that with the supporter for the turn. Looks like going to go with the more conservative route here.
I mean, the Lugia V-Star being able to get that out, get this evolved up. I mean, this is the whole point of the deck, right?
He already had it in hand, so
yeah, he had it. Like, you want to make sure you can go for this Lugia. You're going to get a capture energy onto that as well. A chance to get something else on to the bench, another chance to check over what you might have lost to your prizes. Going to be eyeing up this amazing Yveltal.
Yeah, this can be a very strong Pokemon, especially early in this match, as you hope that your opponent, first of all, doesn't have a big Parasol, and second off, doesn't find it at the right time. You've already seen your opponent use their V-Star for the game, and they're not flipping very well with Cram-O-Matic, so maybe there's an opportunity there where you can use this Pokemon before things get awkward.
Yeah, when there's such amazing card draw potential from you, I mean, you have to think like, okay, maybe they can hit it at some point. So if you can just get there first, or just hope that they can't draw it when they need to, you're good. Though with a bench full of Pokemon, Tyler is going to be a little bit more likely to draw into what he needs. Big Professor's research toward, that's going to be the 2 Archeops in the discard, which means they can go straight to bench using that V-Star power.
I don't think there's anything more intimidating than when Tord is playing like this. The cards are just flying left and right, but it feels so methodical. He just knows exactly what he's doing. He's done this 1,000 times now, and has a fantastic opportunity here ahead of himself with the Lugia ready to go, double Archeops down, and I mean, the setup doesn't get much better than this.
It's a good day to be Tord.
I think every day is a good day to be Tord. Let's just stare at my trophy collection.
Fair play, fair play. Going now for one of these Archeops, start to go for the whole mainstay of this deck, be able to start accelerating this energy with this Primal Turbo.
Yep, and this is where we could see the energies be important. You can just go ahead and use some of the less important energies. You only need to deal 180 damage to knock out this Pokemon, so you could use a double Turbo and a capture energy here, make this your weaker Lugia, and then of course you'll have the powerful energies for a larger Lugia later on. So even if Tyler has the perfect turn and gets the Meloetta 4 Fusion, big knockout, you weren't very invested in this Pokemon.
Yeah, it's so important with these energies that you know that you're using them for the right purpose, because powerful energies, I mean, they're named that for a reason. Those energies are absolutely crazy. You don't want to be wasting it on something that's just going to be getting KO'd by a Meloetta. We're going to be going for another Primal Turbo, though, at this point. Get all the energies that Tord can on board.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty relevant to see the powerful energies come down now, because obviously they're going to be dedicated to this Lugia V. They're not going anywhere from this stage, and that removes options like Stoutland that could have potentially seen some play. It's a great Pokemon to attack into a Meloetta after it takes a big knockout, and Tord just says, I'm interested in big prize cards. I'm gonna knock out Genesect and Muse and rely on the heavy hit points here.
I mean, yeah, start getting stuff set up. The one thing that scares me is there is the Pokemon counters that we've seen. So, I mean, it's quite safe over there, but Tyler still has a little bit of work to be made to even have that be a question in the first place.
Yeah, that is a great point. It looks like there are just the 3 catchers in the deck, and we already saw one of those played, so still an opportunity there for Tyler to cash in and maybe remove 2 big resources in those powerful energies along with taking some prize cards, but the turn is definitely Tord's, and that Lugia has taken a nice knockout there with Tempest Dive on that Mew.
Yeah, easy 2 prizes to start things off, and Tord's side of the board here just looks absolutely immaculate. The setup, Lugia V-Star, one on the bench. You have the Yveltal that can be pressuring. Once you lose one of these Lugias, it's definitely going super, super well. And now Tyler has to be putting the pieces together to have a response here.
I'm going to start with losing one of those power tablets there, which can be a great way to work in the big knockouts later on if you're attacking with a Pokemon like Mew VMAX. But looks like Meloetta is probably still going to be a nice Pokemon to use in a spot like this. Feels awkward as you've already given up 2 prize cards. Meloetta makes it 3, and then a Mew VMAX just closes out the 6. You didn't get to really play the prize exchange the way you wanted to, but I mean, that's why Tord is as good as he is.
Yeah, when you can have that Meloetta be the first thing that someone takes out, then things can start getting awkward. Make sure you're not giving up a prizer, but you gotta do what you gotta do. That Mew on the bench, that big Parasol is gonna be attached onto it to make sure that Pokemon at least is gonna be safe from the Yveltal later down the line.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I wanted to see that attached to the active Pokemon, as that one has an opportunity to evolve into a Mew VMAX this turn and be a little more protected.
Even just holding onto it when I think it could be pressuring a little bit more too. I mean, last thing you want is to waste that one big Parasol that you have and somehow lose it. I mean, there is even the opportunity of lost vacuum on Tord's end.
Yep, it's a great point. That's a big card for Tord in this matchup, as if he can find it at the right time, but now he's got a couple turns potentially to find that card and get it played to open up the avenues for the Yveltal to take big knockouts.
Point 2. Tyler has to find a way to get this going. Sure, there's the Mews out. Sure, there's a couple energies out. We got a Fusion Strike system to start getting a couple of different cards. I mean, you'd love to see something like a Mew VMAX, but where is it?
I want to see Alyssa Sparkles. What's happening? This is just, it's nowhere to be found, and Tyler's just gonna use a quick ball, and I don't need any basic Pokemon. I don't even know if I have any. Let's just get these cards out of my hand and try to draw 2 more with Fusion Strike system.
This is my favorite part of playing Mew, when things are, you think they're pretty close to being together, but you're the one off. You're that one card off, and nothing is going to work, and you can just never draw into that one card, and you're like, my deck could be so strong, but it's just not working with me today.
Yeah, I think we see a Power Tablet in hand. It's one of those where it's like, do I just play it to get an additional card? Am I that unlucky? If I'm not going to find it, maybe I just was never going to find it. Charismatic could potentially be the answer, and holding on to that item card is going to be paying off there. Can he find the heads?
That is 0 for 3 so far. The last Charismatic was a fail. Catcher's a fail. This game is just a scoop. There's no shot. When you're staring across a Lugia that's fully set up, you keep flipping tails and you have nothing going your way. Send it into this game true and try again next time.
That is, you know, if you are going to flip 1 tails, you might as well flip 7. Just get it out of the way and chalk that one up as an L, move on. There's still plenty of time left. Looks like both players could potentially give us a game 2 and 3 here if Tyler were to be able to give us that. And I think the big piece for me that I'm interested in is if Tyler wants to go first or second moving into this spot here, as he is going to have the decision, and I think we'll get a good read for how he feels with his deck, if he feels comfortable going for that big early Meloetta or just wants to play safe.
That's a lot of belief to be putting into the deck that just did absolutely nothing right for you, but I mean, that's one of the things with playing this list that features that Meloetta, is that you had some of that faith in the first place to even be running this, as opposed to another variant of Mew that kind of walks away from that Sparkle.
Yeah, and it's great when you find the Sparkle and you get to accelerate all these cards, but when you just draw the energies and get everything all mismatched, can't get any of the basic Pokemon without sacrificing so many resources, you start to wonder, should I be playing Path?
Right? Maybe if I can't play the game, let nobody play the game. Maybe make this a little more fair. That's how we see Mew go down this time, because obviously at 5-0, this deck has been doing some fantastic things for Tyler. So hopefully in this game 2, we can see something go a little bit more right going on in the deck, so we can see a good face-off between these 2 players. The mulligan to start.
Yep, not exactly the start you're looking for there for Tyler, and looks like Tord did have a fairly decent setup there, but
you talk about it being scary going up against Tord when he's going to take 2 prize cards. What about when you're just giving him free cards to start off the game?
Yeah, I don't think that's in the manual as a solid play.
At this point, really intrigued to see who's going first, because the thing is too, if you're letting Lugia go first, I mean, that's a great spot for Tord, just in the fact that you can start getting that setup. We saw that he He obviously knows now because this is game 2, but even in that first game, going and benching the 2 Lugias, making sure nothing could go wrong, and going first, you just have that other turn, that extra turn to really get that whole engine going.
Yeah, I think you may have talked me and others into just go first, get a big setup, and hopefully you're just using these catchers on the second turn, or even getting aggressive with that Mew VMAX.
Yet again, Elisa Sparkle and Meloetta finding their way into the prizes for Tyler's end. We saw that there wasn't the opportunity to get the Sparkle in the first game, but opting to go first this time around, not even going to try and go for that path.
And we see the Battle VIP Pass is obviously the big card that was struggling to find the hand for Tyler for the longest time in the opener. And look at this. There's every ball search imaginable there with the multiple Ultra Balls and the multiple Quick Balls too. This is going to be a very strong start here.
And this is so nice too, because not only can you find all of the Pokemon, but then you're getting rid of everything in your hand and will be able to just draw right back up. This already just looks so much better, so much stronger. You got the 3 Genesects, you got a Mew, got a Meloetta. It's a lot better than the first time around.
Well, we usually have the lost zone counter for players, but I just want to see the discard counter. Can we get to 10? Because that's a good turn.
The more cards you can see as a Mew player, the better off you're going to be for a Seal Zone. Making its way onto the Genesect. This swap is the Mew V into the active. That is going to be a Fusion Strike system for a nice, healthy 5 cards. Love to see that.
Wow, this is really good. He has the Fusion Strike energy for the Meloetta and holding on to the Alyssa Sparkle as well. Has the other Fusion energy too, so could go as high as 280 on the following turn. And it's a nice reach to have early on in this game. Could see the opening prize cards maybe going Tyler's way this time.
Now imagine if you went second with this type of start.
it was gonna be really good.
All right, but I don't know that you don't want to, risk anything, but definitely set up for success next time around. Starting things off though toward being able to quick ball away in Archeops. That's how things started off in the first game, and seeing that again in the second game. This list is built for consistency, and we're definitely seeing that.
Yep, deja vu. Tord tries to do this 15 times before getting to top 8, and sure enough, back at it again. And this is a fantastic start once more. Just get these Pokemon into the discard pile, not have to worry about having those pieces for turn 2. Now you get to focus on which Pokemon you want, and obviously Oranguru is such a crucial piece for him, as he wants to make sure that as good as it is to have the right cards in your hand, you also want to make sure that some good cards like those powerful energies aren't in your hand.
Yeah, and being able to have that manipulation of your hand and the deck at the same time with something as simple as the one little Oranguru is so powerful, and a big reason why a lot of players like to opt for that. A big check of the deck as well, only prizing the Radiant Charizard in terms of attackers this time around.
Well, we will see the Oranguru. Can it continue its trend on stream and maybe find an Ultra Ball, as we've seen so many times here already in Arlington? I'm excited to find out.
Capture energy onto the active Lugia. It'd be nice to grab another one onto the bench and Evolution Incense. Go through, good opportunity to have another Archeops. One already in the discard, so just one being pitched away from having that perfect 2 birds.
Well, I got good news if you're a Tord Reklev fan. There's another Quick Ball.
I think Tord Reklev fans are used to good news whenever he's at a Pokemon event. You're definitely rooting for the winning team a good chunk of the time this time around, and this is already looking to be one of those hit your perfect Lugia setups.
Overdogs, where you at?
Just gonna keep on going. I mean, when you're look at the discard. You have 2 Quick Balls, 2 Archeops. Like, it does not get any better than that.
Yeah, it is. This is very clean, and of course, once more, even eyeing up the Evital again, just making sure that you have an opportunity where if your opponent doesn't have the Parasol, you're looking at free prize cards if you can get the right energies onto that Pokemon.
Forces Tyler's hand at being able to make sure that there is that response. Just that constant pressure that the Yveltal, once this Lugia engine is up and running, once the Archeops are out, that this Yveltal can go and swing at any point if you're got slacking, if you don't have that Parasol. And we saw Tyler in the first game too was really willing to put that down, and if that Parasol, there's only the one of. If it's in the wrong spot, that's also a dead card.
Looks like Tord able to get that powerful energy back into the deck by way of Marnie, and still has not used the Oranguru here. Do see multiple copies of the Lugia down already, so must feel comfortable there, and gonna go ahead and put one of those special energies back in the deck once more.
Grabbing Professor's Research off of that for next turn, potentially. You got so much going right this time around. I mean, just going to be breed the win, get a couple, and pass it over.
Yep, makes sense. Just get a bunch of cards in hand. You understand that you're going to be likely losing some prize cards here if your opponent's deck does what it's supposed to do, but there was a little disruption there in that Marnie. Maybe Tyler doesn't have the pieces just yet.
But definitely plenty of ways to get them back. There will be an energy attached onto this active Mew, and just has to be looking through and potentially trying to get the VMAX. You see a little bit of, you know, that typical throw away as much as you can and make sure you can thin where possible, grabbing the Mew and instantly pitching it away with a quick ball. Nothing grabbed off of it, not typical to see whatsoever with these Mew decks, because the less cards in hand, honestly, the better.
Got to see the Forest Sealstone here to basically start off this turn now, and could be potentially going for that Alyssa Sparkle. You would just make sure to have that now and get these fusion energies out of the deck, and then start to accelerate with the Genesect. So nice sequencing here. Just get those cards out now, and it's a nightmare when you draw them and the Alyssa Sparkle. That was definitely some dark days for Mew players.
Yeah, but great job with sequencing. Won't even have to worry about that whatsoever. And a real ode to just how great the Forest Sealstone is in a list like this. Now we're going to be able to see the mainstay of the deck with this Genesect V, the Fusion Strike system, start building up this hand.
Yep, plenty of resources to continue on the following turn. We see cards like that Silene, Pokemon Catcher, so if Tyler does have a strategy of targeting down V Pokemon or trying to go for big knockouts, certainly you have to think that that's going to be on the table next turn.
Point two, treat from the Mew to bring this Meloetta into the active slot. You can see the energy available, so you know exactly how this is going to go down. One Lugia V lost for Tord.
Yep, this is a prize card that doesn't feel very good. If your opponent makes you have to attack into multiple Mew VMAX, then you're playing a 7-prize game, and you don't exactly want to throw a bunch of powerful energies on a Stoutland and then have to go Stoutland against Mew, because that's a bad spot.
Definitely rough position to be in, but at least the rest of the setup for Tord is going well. The Lugia V-Star making its way onto the active, and that's going to be the summoning star to grab the 2 Archeops out.
Yep, doesn't get much better than that. Now we're going to see what the main strategy is here for Tord. Do you try to work in a knockout on these Mews? You could remove one of the fusion energies, and maybe that makes it a little more difficult for your opponent to take the knockout. You can get those down to 3, which is just 210, and then plenty of power tablets and choice belts to get the damage amplification would be necessary for a KO.
Really a couple of different ways to go about this. Eyeing up which energy where they need to go to. I mean, just taking the single 1-prizer, it's definitely a weird to take, but you also can't leave this Meloetta completely unchecked. 2 powerful energies, though, onto the Lugia.
Let's see what else is going on there. They got the capture energy, which can go ahead and search through once more, maybe find an additional Pokemon. And there's still one more Primal Turbo there, so should see enough energies to at least work in a knockout. And Serena is in the hand too, so some options as far as if you want to remove this Meloetta or just go after more prize cards.
Relax making its way down just in time for this other Primal Turbo to go off. I mean, you have the option of using both in one turn. Might as well get as many energies attached whatsoever. Instead, though, it will be another capture energy going on to this active Lugia. Make sure that you do have the energy necessary to go for a big attack.
Yep, a little bit of risk here if the Serena is going to be used to knock out one of the Mews. Of course, you remove that Fusion Strike energy, but you do run into an issue if your opponent just happens to have the Silene. They just flip one heads, get that back on the top of their deck, draw into it with the Genesect, and Meloetta's right back where it was. So a little scary. But we are going to see that Mew promoted into the active spot by way of Serena.
Yeah, there definitely is the scary out with the Meloetta being able to go down that Silene path, but at the same time, the one prize does feel bad. The two that the Mew is going to offer, definitely a little bit nicer for how you want to be taking your prizes. Either going to be promoting the other Mew into the active.
Yeah, it seems like a decent risk to take here if you are Tord. It's just the one of Silene. Your opponent would have to either have it in hand right now or flip with a Cram-O-Matic or just draw into it. And it seems more likely that your opponent's just going to start throwing down power tablets and choice belts trying to get the knockout. And now I think the decision's fairly simple. We got to see at least the heads. But there actually are a lot of cards in hand. Maybe some thinning has to happen first.
We also got to see that Tyler wasn't necessarily having the greatest of luck. And when it comes down to Silene and other cards, I mean, there is going to be that little bit of luck aspect to it, because you can have the greatest plan in the world, but if you just cannot flip a single coin or roll the die the right way, then it all comes to a halting end.
Looks like we see Pokemon Catcher, Meloetta in hand. There's some cards that could be played down if you wanted to have the Fusion Strike drawn straight away into. But Silene's going to be the immediate play here. At least all one heads.
And that's going to be enough, at least. You're going to be able to up that one. It looks like it was just the one head flip. So definitely a sigh of relief in that moment. That is then the supporter for turn. Amaranth, you have to hope here that you can roll another heads. Try and keep that going. And there it is.
Yeah, this is cute, because even if you roll tails, it's the same effect. You're just going to get the hand thin enough to just draw into the card with the Genesect, and you didn't shuffle the deck because you missed. So it's a fun way to go about things. I think I still want to see the deck shuffled, though.
Yeah, you know, that's about the time, but you got all you needed from it. We don't care about that deck anymore, theoretically, but you got your energy, and that's a great position to be in for Tyler.
Yeah, don't see much else that really needs to be done here. I suppose the only question now is if you want to have that energy attached to the Mew, or if you want to have it on another Meloetta. I feel like maybe we can start to move away from the Meloettas at this point, though, and it's nice to know where your energies are, as it probably is just one or two more attacks here from Tyler to try to close things out. Maybe sneak an Echoing Horn in at some time and steal two more prize cards.
Definitely a lot better than having to try and chase one prizers after this Lugia V-Star goes down. The retreat from the Mew now, the energy on it, and that's going to be the Meloetta brought into the active slot to make sure that this Melodious? How do you, what? This could be a big attack that's going off.
Melodious Echo.
Melodious, there we go.
Yep, this is a big knockout, and it's very important for Tyler as he gets down to just two prize cards. But there's one big weakness on this side of the board, and there's one Mew in play. If Tord somehow finds a way to remove that Mew from play, we're just looking at a Meloetta with two fusion energies trying to get the job done, and no real closeout Pokemon here. So a little unfortunate for Tyler that he wasn't able to find an additional Mew. I think we did see him quick ball away one, just trying to thin down, and that means that it could be a little more difficult to get one last one lined up in these closing turns.
This point for Tord, just going to be the Snorlax and the Yveltal onto the board in terms of viable attackers at this point. So it's going to be the energy from the Archeops attached into the active Snorlax.
Yep, Snorlax looking like a great attacker here now, the powerful and the double turbo canceling out, so still dealing 180 damage right now.
Point two. Start getting this Yveltal loaded up. No big Parasol quite yet on Tyler's end. So being able to have those lined up for potentially the next turn if we can't see that card be brought into play.
Not sure if I see the cards here to maybe get that Mew into the active spot. Oranguru going to try to help things out here.
See what can be grabbed.
It's like the Radiant Charizard added into the hand.
It's able to draw that a little earlier prizes, but situation, be able to throw that onto the bench, get the choice belt, but you got the research. You don't have a way to get that Mew.
Yep. Well, this means that Tord is going to go down to 3 prize cards by the end of this turn, taking the knockout on the Meloetta, and of course having no Pokemon V in play, so that's going to be fantastic there. Look at these, just flying, throwing these cards left and right, and this is a pretty important turn, as Tord is potentially looking at a game that he won't be able to close out and needs to play quickly here.
This is where we could see Turbo Tord get all these cards thrown out and make sure you can close this out as much as you can. At this point too, Tyler, you got to make sure that you can close things out to even bring it into this game 3. Check through the discard, make sure everything is going good for you.
Yep, so crucial that Tord was able to get that 5th Pokemon down. That means that the Echoing Horn is not going to be available to bring the V in play and steal a victory for Tyler. Instead, he's going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, remove 2 of these Pokemon from play, and it looks like Snorlax is lined up as he's taking a nap in the active.
Yeah, and being able to force Tyler's hand to actually be taking down these 1 prizers as opposed to being able to go for that cheap trick of just grabbing something onto the bench is so important. Gives Tord another opportunity to try and make something up in there in the situation, especially with needing the 3. I mean, there is numbers available for that once you see the Mew VMAX get in play.
Well, I see the Pokemon catcher in hand. That could maybe work its way towards that Evital. That would be a huge knockout. That's probably the one big threat. Even if you had the Parasol, you're still worried about that Pokemon because you're just a lost vacuum away from getting knocked out. And there's a huge heads there, going to bring that Pokemon in the active.
All the other tails flipping that happened in that first game, completely worth it as long as you're going to flip heads right now and bring that into the active. You don't have to be at the mercy of wondering if, you know, your big Parasol is going to be lost vacuumed away, or if you just can't grab it or something happens. Our tablet coming down as well.
Just a lot of thinning here now. We're going to see Power Tablet played, lost vacuum as well. Just start throwing away cards and try to draw into a couple more pieces. Mew VMAX would feel very nice at this stage of the game.
It definitely would. Feels weird not quite seeing a Mew VMAX at this point, but is what it is. A little bit more of the card draw. Just bring something up to the active to get rid of it at this point, to make sure you have the best chance possible to draw into what you need.
Looks like 3 cards available here. Oh no, that's just a lot of ways to deal more damage. I suppose that opens up Psychic Leap plays, but I don't want to go there.
At least those are cards that you can play down to get rid of out of your hand. Always feels bad playing Power Tablets to just use them.
Oh,
but being able to play them to get just enough space in hand to draw into that Mew VMAX with the next Fusion Strike system.
You're right, it was that 5th card there. It's a perfect find, as this Pokemon will be able to take the knockout here on the Evital. Could even copy Melodious Echo, not have to worry about any of the shenanigans of switching around. And certainly Tyler would be able to find that last prize card by copying the Genesect and closing out here. It's going to be on Tord now to come up with a strategy to handle this big Mew.
Just get a couple more cards in hand. Make sure things are going well. A Cramomatic. You're going to be able to flip as on that one just to make sure you are completely set and ready to go. What would you want at this point, though?
I want to thin down.
All right.
I don't think there's anything you're necessarily looking for. You just want to make sure that you have the reach to go find whatever it is when that last turn reveals itself. And it looks like we are probably 1 turn away from the resolution of game number 2 now, and Tyler understands that. Just wants to get the resources that he doesn't need out of the hand right now, and just keep moving.
Make sure you can close this out. Bring it into a game 3 with 12 minutes on the clock at this point. I mean, these are fast decks. They can be. So We could see just how one brick so maybe can reach a conclusion on this, but you got to make it through this game first.
Yep. Just looking for avenues where Tord could steal the prizes and get a way to stay in. And I'm having a hard time finding it right now. And with only under 12 minutes left in the game here, Tord's gonna have to play quick and show us what he's got.
And there it is. Yveltal will be KO'd in the action on Tord's end. Tyler just needs one prize to be able to close out this game and bring it into a game 3. Tord 3 away, seeing the writing on the wall. That is going to be scooped up, and we're going to game number 3.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game from both players. It really showed off the power of the old school Mew deck, and it's so impressive when you can continually use that Meloetta over and over again. The use of the Silene was probably the most pivotal turn there, as Tord took a little bit of a risk, tried to work in some extra prize cards, and got a little bit punished there as the Silene was readily available.
Yeah, that prize trade is so important, but at the end of it, you have to make sure that there's not going to be anything that's going to come back and haunt you. And unfortunately, yeah, you got your 2 prizes, but you left a huge thread out on the board, and that was ultimately a huge thing that resulted in this game 3. Now we'll have to see with 10 minutes if they can get this done, but we know that these are both really strong decks, and with the capability of breaking, we'll have to see just how the first couple of turns play out.
These are my favorite kinds of games with maybe sub 10 minutes to go, as both decks have explosive opportunities where they can just take prize cards left and right, close games out in 3 or 4 turns, as both players have plenty of Vs, and love seeing both players throwing down the cards, getting things going. But that is terrible prizes. 2 Fusion Strike energies for Tyler.
That's absolutely dreadful. Those Fusion Strike energies so important, making sure this can go off. But honestly, what's also terrible, look at Tord's start.
Yeah, starts the Luminions. Not exactly ideal. It's the first time we've seen Quick Ball not immediately throw away an Archeops, and maybe we're getting a little worried here.
Yeah, that's a situation, but at least that you have a quick ball. At least you can get a Lugia down. You know, you got to look at a couple of the positives. Sure, this isn't the picture-perfect Lugia start, but you can't be graced with that every single game.
Oh, Tyler's looking at his hand, sees Fusion Strike Energy Double Battle VIP Pass. He's probably thinking, oh, I've got turn 1 knockout. We're going to go for this thing. And
wait till he looks at his deck.
It's going to be bad news.
Hey, he's looking at the Luminion start. He's thinking how lucky he is, and is about to find out how drastically this maybe isn't the greatest. Capture energy, though, towards end. Another opportunity to grab a second Lugia. Future-proof for any shenanigans that Tyler won't be able to pull off next turn.
Yeah, we've seen Tord go for this, have one Lugia that can knock out the Vs, and then one Lugia that maybe goes after the V maxes. So that Capture Energy Lugia could certainly get involved in the action early, but that's going to be a pass of the turn. Tyler staring down an opportunity, as there's just a 170 hit point Pokemon there, and that's going to be a lot of discard. That's 5 Pokemon added to the bench as fast as possible. I don't even know if he's going to get to look through his deck and see if the Fusion Energies are there.
Please, Tyler, just give it a little bit of a look. I love the hustle from both of these players. They definitely understand this ace, but he doesn't look, just instantly throws down the Pokemon. Yes, you got to play fast. Yes, you want to make sure there's a resolution to this game, but you also have to make sure that what you need to go for is there and available. Fusion Strike onto the Meloetta. It's going to be the switch into the active Mew. It's time to draw some cards, but we know what's not going to be there.
This is terrifying, but also kind of okay. You only need 1 energy with the Alyssa Sparkle because you have the Power Tablet in hand. So you'll be able to get the knockout, but you're not going to be threatening a Lugia at any stage with just the 2 Fusion Energies. Cramomatic gets heads.
That's so huge at this point, getting rid of the Alpad, and that's going to be Alyssa Sparkle. This is going to be the moment that Tyler realizes where things are potentially a little downhill.
No! He plays down the one on the Mew!
I mean from...
he's going to try to bring it back.
He's just grabbing it from his deck at this point, you know, so I think that's okay, but this is going to be the moment where he realizes I only have the one. Meloetta is where this needs to be going down to have any chance of pulling something off.
I don't know if there's an issue with like where you point first. I'm assuming you point at the Meloetta first, and then that's where that first energy has to go. But I think this all works out to where he gets to continue to move on and do it the way he wants. But this is such a terrifying spot to be in.
Holding your breaths over here, like watching this all go down. Is going to be the Meloetta making his way into the active slot to help with the power tablet. Will be able to grab this KO onto Lumineon for the first 2 prizes.
Yep, Tyler does see one of those Fusion Strike energies. Maybe not exactly the time that he wants them, but hey, we got 2 prize cards against Tord Reklev with only 6.5 minutes to go here. And Tord is struggling. It's going to be just the professor's research to try to make something happen.
And that's a professor's researching away 2 Aurora energy a point. Energies, though honestly maybe not even getting to a point where we'd see them even come into play with how things are going down. Able to get things like the quick ball, Archeops in hand as well, so definitely some avenues to try and make sure that you can get those birds into the discard and get this Lugia set up.
Yeah, this Oranguru needs to help out. I don't know if we saw the Lugia V-Star in hand, and if you don't have that attack going, I don't know what you can really accomplish at this stage.
That's going to be the big question, because, I mean, you have the Lugias out, you have the energies, you have one of the Archeops minimum, just the one in the discard, but the Lugia V-Star is going to be that missing piece of the puzzle if it's not in hand or not a way to be able to grab it.
So many ways to find it off the top. Oranguru could find Evolution Incense. Ultra Ball has been the big one off the top, or you could just find the actual card itself there.
This is going to be huge.
Gonna go for it. Does not find it. Finds another Aurora energy. That's not what we need.
Not at all. There's hand is full of supporters. The Lugia V-Star nowhere to be seen. And that is going to be a huge win. When you go for just Read the Wind.
Read the Wind finds Evolution Incense, but this is a huge turn for Tyler. He has the power tablet, and we knew he drew the Fusion Strike energy. That goes down on the Mew. There's already a knockout lined up for Tyler to get down to just 2 prize cards remaining here.
This aggressive Mew build is going all out in the crucial moments when necessary. Going up against Tord, one of these players could be ending up at 6-0, and Mew looking closer and closer to that goal.
Wow, finding great cards there. Finds the Echoing Horn and a Cramomatic too. If you can hold on to these cards, there's definitely an avenue where you could try to close this game out on the next turn. We see Boss's orders in the hand too.
Everything going your boy's way right now. I mean, everything in hand with the power tablet. That's going to be the KO onto the active Lugia. 2 more prize cards taken, 2 away. We were talking about this 10 minutes, but this Mew is just taking names.
Where did the time go? Lumineon has to be the player here to get things going, as it is going to be a way to knock out the Meloetta and also just remove one of these Vs from play. You've seen that Tyler loves to remove these Pokemon as fast as possible, and maybe you just have to go for a single Archeops. I don't know if the hand has enough to get this going. Looks like there is at least the Aurora Energy and the Archeops too, so I guess you could play down that Aurora Energy as the energy for the turn.
Evolution Incense, a turn too late in getting this Lugia V-Star out. Already so much damage has been done with the prizes that you have to wonder that even if Tord can start getting the setup, if it's just a little too late.
There's so many great cards in Tyler's hand. He's holding on to the Seal Stone too, so he's going to be able to have access to any card to close out. The prize cards are a little unfortunate. I think he's got 2 more damage amplifiers as the last 2 prizes, so that might be weird, but I think there's enough resources to close out here if there's enough Pokemon. And with Lumineon shuffling itself back into the deck, that means there's going to be an open bench space.
Yeah, I believe it's a power tablet and a choice belt as the last 2 prizes over on Tyler's end. Managed to take everything else. Just a quick little check through, but still so many great cards at disposal. Now it's going to be the energies attacked on to this active Lumineon on Tord's end.
Tord is going to try to find a way out here. At least can clear these Fusion Strike energies, take 1 prize card. You can see the pace starting to slow down a little bit. 2.5 minutes to go here as we've seen quite a game number 3. And Tyler's just praying to hold on to the rest of this hand because I think the answers are definitely there.
Yeah, everything you need and more is hand right now. And for Tord, you got the Archeops out, so you can go for this Primal Turbo, start getting. He's already got the energies needed on the Minion. It's going to be 2 powerful energies. Going onto the bench, Lugia V-Star, making sure that if you can survive past the next turn, that there is going to be response here.
We'll see what is going to be lined up here for the rest of this. Looks like the Serena is going to be the play here. Just drawing cards. That's a sigh of relief for Tyler. He says, okay, I get to hold on to the rest of this hand.
Take the cards. I do not care. I have what I need right here. I'm feeling pretty good right now. It's looking good to be a Mew player in this moment.
Should just be the Aqua return here to take this knockout. Then just trying to make the decision of which Pokemon to leave in the active spot. It's going to be the Radiant Charizard. Tyler smells blood in the water, going to promote this Mew. Does he have the rest of the pieces to get the job done?
There is the Forest Illzone, so that's definitely going to be a way that if there's a piece missing, that you're going to have this capability of being able to use that V-Star power granted and be able to grab exactly what you need from your deck. Has the catcher, has the bosses, and there is a lot of cards in hand, so you'd have to be playing quite a few down if you wanted any chance and opportunity to try and be drawing with the Fusion Strike system.
Yeah, not sure if we saw the Echoing Horn available or where that's gone at this stage. There's always ways, if it's in the discard pile, to bring that back. You have the Cramomatic, you can find the Silene, shuffle that back, and well, just place that back on top and then draw into it. And then use the Pokemon Catcher to try to bring that Pokemon to the active spot. Big heads here with the Cramomatic.
Huge. That's another free card that you're able to be putting into your hand when you're able to roll that head. Looking at through, though, what would you want to grab in this case?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think the Echoing Horn is a possibility, so just going to go for the Mew here now, and could certainly just take the knockout and have an opportunity to take the last prize card. You're going to have +3 turns here, as it looks like time is going to be called here for our players. We'll see if there's the reach. I don't think there's enough ways to amplify the damage at this stage to knock out that Lugia V-Star. 280 is just a little too much here. But this Mew is hitting for 210.
Tyler, turn 0 at this point. I mean, 2 prizes is definitely a way to go about it, because you don't want to be just a little short when you're so close to being able to wrap this up. Debating on how to go about this. Very crucial moment here for both of our players.
Tyler asks how many cards are in hand, has that Marnie, and is considering playing that card. Going for a slower approach instead of trying to make things happen this turn. You would think with the Forest Sealstone that there's a potential avenue to maybe making this happen with cards like Silene and going for the catcher, but not going to be used here, as we just go for the Marnie.
Want to make sure maybe that you have that for the last and final turn. If you're one little piece, make sure you can go for a boss or whatever you need to be closing out. That Tord can't be all of a sudden stalling out through that last turn and force a tie in the situation. Genesect on to the bench. Things out. Playing through all the cards.
Yep, if the second Mew VMAX is available, eventually then you can almost set up a checkmate. You have both of those Pokemon ready to go, and you just try to target down those single prize Pokemon to get the last 2 prizes in the game. And we saw Quick Ball discarding Ultra Ball, I believe, which might be an issue later on if Tyler doesn't have access to go and find that Pokemon, if something were to happen to this active Mew.
Especially with a healthy amount of cards still left in deck. I mean, it's not the most I've ever seen, but at the same time, you're not really going to be able to draw through all of those with the Cross Fusion Strike. So with the Genesect, the Fusion Strike system. So there is definitely that opportunity and that chance to be missing that.
All right, Tyler feels comfortable going to take the knockout here on the Radiant Charizard. We did see that escape rope added to the hand, a card that isn't always included in the Mew decks anymore, but could definitely pay off huge here. If a Pokemon like this Lugia is promoted in the active spot, you can just target down one of these smaller Pokemon here and try to close things out.
Point Lugia V-Star promoted on towards an Evolution Incense. Chance to see what is left that you have to work with. Look through, try and figure out this win that you have going up against Tyler.
Both players with an opportunity to close out here. Tord on turn 1, if I'm not mistaken, which means that he has an opportunity to take 5 prize cards. You take 3 here on the active Mew VMAX, and all it takes is close out on one of these V Pokemon, but seems like a lot of work. But if this Lugia sticks around, it's definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, considering the fact, I mean, 5 prizes, yeah, that seems like so many, but when you're going up against something like this Mew VMAX that's being able to give up that 3, that is definitely bringing things within this realm of possibility that you wouldn't otherwise maybe think possible at this point.
Yeah, I think the V-Guard energy is pretty ridiculous at this stage of the game, because that makes taking this prize card very difficult. I don't even know if it's truly possible at this stage, as you get the 4th powerful energy, get to 300. V-Guard brings that back down to 270. It even disrupts the choice belt, I believe. Looks like we're going to see every energy in the deck go onto this Lugia.
I love it. Have a little Twitter clip moment right here. Be able to see that make its rounds. I've never seen that many energy on a Lugia before, I will say.
Well, Tord gonna do his best Blissey impression for us. We'll see if there is any piece to this strategy that I'm missing out on. But that choice belt and all those energies sure look nice. I think we're a little bit short, Mr. Reklev.
I'd hate trying to do math on stream. I think just that pivotal 10 HP short after this V-Guard energy. All the energy looks impressive, but if you just can't quite secure this KO, then that's not going to do it for you.
Well, maybe you can get that second choice belt played on there and get plus 60. No, that's not how this works. Uh-oh.
Situation, looking through, try and figure out any out at this point, but just that V-Guard energy.
Yep, it's a really smart inclusion for Tyler, as so often you just have that Fusion Strike energy just sitting around on a Pokemon, and you only need that single energy. So only going with the 2 double turbos, having the V-Guard there to help out, and it's so big there. And it looks like we're just going to see Tyler taking a huge victory. Tyler Keller knocking out Tord Reklev at this 5-0 spot here. Going to move on to 6-0. And what an unbelievable way to close things out, as we had no time left in game number 3.
That's not how I saw this going down after this first game, after Mew just refused to do the things, but being able to then have a masterclass in the next 2, showing exactly why Mew has been a deck that's stuck around for so long, and why going back to the classic, this aggressive Mew could actually be the play going in here, especially when you're taking down a player like Tord. Like that holds its weight right there.
What a showman too, you know? He throws on 8 energies or whatever it was. I was really hoping to see the other choice belt too. Just get in there and try to take the knockout by any means possible. But a great show, great sportsman, and really love seeing both these players go at it. And we've got an opportunity to see both these players potentially in day 2. This was at 5-0, so I expect to see a lot of great play from both these guys throughout the rest of the day.
Great play by both of these players. Also, just with the decks. I mean, yes, we're going back to the classic, the Lugia and the Mew. I mean, we've seen a lot of it, but being able to see such a great game and something that was so close. I mean, yeah, sometimes seeing the weird decks is fun, but like seeing the skill from both of these players and that S match that just transpired is more than worth it. Like, that was so much better. Yeah,
there were a lot of spots that both players were trying to work their way out of, and it didn't really line up for either player for a long time. It's Tord obviously had a great opener in the first game, and Tyler just continued to just troll awkwardly in a lot of situations, but it was great to see both players really showing off exactly what both decks can do. And Tyler, with a ton of aggression, just finding huge knockouts with a Meloetta, which is a Pokemon that's been counted out for such a long time. I've been wearing the Meloetta pin for the last like 2 or 3 tournaments, just hoping to see one time. It never shows up. I threw it away. It's not worth trying anymore. So I'm gonna have to dig it out of the trash and give Tyler a hearty handshake.
Especially if people are gonna, you know, hey, maybe this is the way to go from you after that, because that definitely at 6-0, there's definitely the case to be made that maybe just there's no messing with the classics. But it was even so fun to see in that game 3. I mean, 2 of those energies were prized to start things off, but then there's still just so many ways around being able to go for the power tablet, be able to still grab this KOs. I mean, it's phenomenal to see that there's still different options in a deck that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, he just continually found like the exact piece that he needed, just enough to keep going. Has a no card hand as he plays down the power tablet to do one